Fridays at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show.
Just getting heat. It's just heating up, Ant.
Oh, it's gonna get real heated. Because I didn't know, but we're still talking about where Jimmy's gonna land, even at this part in the entire thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of people were hoping that he would have already landed somewhere. Don't have to talk about it anymore, right? You just know he's gone. You don't have to worry about it. But it hasn't happened yet. I think you and I both know it's going to be a little bit of time before it happens. I know a lot of people were like, they'll have a deal worked out quickly. They want to get this thing done quickly. You're right. They wanted to get this thing done quickly. However, there's a lot of other factors at play that are outside the Niners' control. For example, Aaron Rodgers wanting $50 million.
No.
Russell Wilson, everything going on there. Deshaun Watson and that whole saga and thing that's going on there.
Trade him today. Just take the 6th, take the 7th, whatever you can get.
Look, it was never going to be a quick process. Anyone thought it was is fooling themselves. This thing it could drag on until the 11th hour. It really, really could. Yeah. You never quite know. This could be all the way up until the March 16th deadline for the 49ers. And if the Niners really wanted to, they could restructure and sign some other guys to contracts to free up themselves, to get themselves, back under the cap and get themselves in a positive situation. And then they have even more time if they want, in theory, to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But let's talk about some places where he could potentially land and where he could possibly land.
But he hasn't landed yet.
But obviously has not landed and or docked in said place yet.
Ooh, I like that.
Because the ship has set sail.
That's for sure.
He's out of San Francisco. He's already said his goodbyes and his farewells.
Well played.
They look out upon for Land Ho and where he will be landing next. What are you thinking? What are some places? Actually, let's go through all of the possible landing spots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, and then we'll talk about the realistic possibility of all those places.
Yeah, so we kind of did some extensive research and went over every team, minus the Browns. We're going to leave the Browns off. They were even mentioned in this, but we're going to leave them off the list.
Accurate.
But let's go through this list. Broncos.
Yes.
Okay. Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Panthers.
Oh, yeah.
Texans.
Oh, yeah.
Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Commanders.
Oh.
Saints.
Yep.
Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots.
Yeah, it could happen.
The Raiders.
It could happen also.
Yeah.
Look, I think all of those places are possibles. Obviously, some of them less likely than others, but every place you just listed is entirely a possibility. Let's start with the ones that are the least likely. Number one, as we all know, the New Orleans Saints. That is the least likely place. And I blinked, and they went from negative $80 million in cap to negative $44 million in cap.
We never said that was going to happen.
No, we never mentioned that one day they were going to hire a head coach, and all of a sudden, most of their cap issues were going to just be magically gone and disappeared. I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned.
Well, I mean,
Alvin Kamara has also given them a way to free up another $10 million in cap space. So good job, Alvin.
Yeah, they've got a lot of decisions to still make, but one of those decisions won't be starting quarterback. I just don't think it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo at $25 million. It would be a nice fit for Dennis Allen, a guy that's focused on defense, to bring in a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo that can manage the offense and all that. But
absolutely,
I don't see it. That money is too vast. They couldn't work out a deal to make Jimmy Garoppolo a viable option in New Orleans. So I think we have to scratch them off the list.
Correct, and it's not because I don't think he wouldn't fit there or they don't have the capital. They definitely have the capital to trade for him in terms of like draft picks and potential players. The problem for them is just salary cap. They are so far underneath that I don't know if there's any way or any world. I don't know about the next least likely. I want to keep this team. I was going to say the New York Giants, but you and I both think they could free up the space in order to find a way to get Jimmy Garoppolo back into San Francisco. I think one that would surprise a lot of people if he ended up back there would be New England, only because of Mac Jones being there and Mac Jones having the season that he had and getting them to a playoffs after them missing it. But I think there is a possibility here. I think this might not be, maybe not the next least possible place, but it's one that a lot of people would write off as a destination that isn't there. They have $7 million in cap space coming into this season, actually 7.328 million. That may have been the exact number, but who knows? But Mac Jones, Do they want to continue forward with this guy, or could you see Bill Belichick wanting to make a move and trade some capital and bring Jimmy Garoppolo back into the fold there in New England?
The one thing I know about Bill Belichick is he wants to win, and whatever avenue he needs to take to do that, he's going to do. If he saw something in Jimmy Garoppolo that he believes now would be a good situation for him to have, he'll put Mac Jones on the bench. He doesn't value first-round picks like everyone else does. He often traded out of the first round many times. I think that when Bill looks at it, he's not looking at the foreseeable future of the franchise, but looking at the right now because he wants to win Super Bowls right now because he's not that young. Well, I think that we saw Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe, and Bledsoe had just signed a huge contract.
Huge.
He does not care about that stuff. What he cares about is who's going to give him the best opportunity to win. If he felt that Jimmy Garoppolo was the best opportunity to win, he would make that move, especially the way that the 49ers and Patriots have worked together to make trades in the past. It seems like Kyle Shanahan has a good relationship with Bill Belichick.
Accurate.
So if he really reached out and said, you know what, I want to get Jimmy Garoppolo back, the 49ers might be willing to listen, depending on also what they're willing to give back, whether that's draft picks. They always have draft picks, or even a player. Maybe they're interested in somebody there.
Possible.
So I think you have to keep the Patriots as a team that's potentially on the list.
They're a dark horse.
They're definitely a dark horse because I don't think they're a front runner by any means because they do have Mac Jones. But what about Mac Jones' playoff performance makes you think that he can win any sort of AFC championship or a Super Bowl? I didn't see that from him. I saw a lot of limitations, even more so than Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a seasoned veteran who understands how Bill Belichick operates in the New England and Patriots way. To me, he would be an upgrade over Mac Jones. So I think he's definitely got to be a possibility. Anytime there's an upgrade potentiality, you got to look at it.
Agreed, Ant. Agreed with you there. The New York Giants are a team that they're not the least likely. They definitely have questions in the quarterback room with Danny Derp or Dimes, whatever one is going to show up for the New York Giants. One of the bigger problems for them also is just the cap number, which is sitting at -11. They're -11 under that cap currently at the moment. Look, it's not necessarily the greatest situation for them. You have question marks there at the quarterback room. You're picking, again, in the high portion of the draft with your draft pick. But there is no quarterback solution in this draft. So could they be sitting there going, look, I think we can make the playoffs at the very least in the NFC least. We could beat the Cowboys if we have a competent quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo just did it. Maybe we bring this guy in and we can get back to the playoffs.
I question whether he's an actual fit for what Dabble wants to do offensively.
Accurate.
I think he wants a big arm. He wants somebody that's mobile. I think he would prefer someone like Trey Lance, for instance. I think that is the kind of quarterback that he'd be interested in.
Question then. Could we be going to Crazy Town Bonkersville with the New York Giants and get 4 first-round picks from them?
They do have a multitude of first-round picks.
They do.
But you're looking to rebuild a roster that is $11 million over the cap, yet couldn't win more than, 4 games? Yeah. It's not exactly something that is screaming potential and ready to win a Super Bowl. They do need to get the quarterback of the future, but you wonder how they're going to slow play this. Could they approach this the same way the 49ers approached 2017? Is you go with a veteran option, right? You have Brian Hoyer, or you roll with Danny Derp like you talked about, and you just roll with him for 1 year, see what happens, and then you go ahead and approach the draft the next year. I think they're in for the long haul, so I think they're going to take a slow approach to it. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, if he was the best option, they could think about it, but I don't fit what they want to do. So I don't think that's the perfect landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think you always have to keep them in mind because they have so much draft capital. They could float a first-round pick if they felt, we just got to get this guy because we know we can't go into the next year with the guy we have. I think that's a possibility. I think that they're more on the outside looking in.
I agree with you there. I think I don't want to say they're a dark horse because of the cap number. I think they're a dark horse just because you're trying to figure out what your identity is going to be and how you want to rebuild this team going forward, because you have to rebuild it. You can't be $11 million over the cap and be sitting there going, hey, we're about to win a Super Bowl after winning 4 games last year. If you think that it's just the quarterback position, then then trading for Jimmy Garoppolo makes sense. If you think you drastically upgrade the quarterback position, that all your problems get fixed as a team, then maybe that's the case. But I didn't see enough from the defense to believe that that's the reality of the situation for them, and we're going to see. We're going to see what happens there and what decision they want to make. They're like New England. I don't expect it to happen, but it could. But that would be them believing that they have the roster in place and intact. And after the season they just put together, I just don't believe that to be the case. Because there were supposedly weapons there. You signed Kenny Golladay to a big, massive contract. Saquon Barkley is apparently...
Golladay, 0 touchdowns.
0 touchdowns in the entire season. That is nuts. Imagine saying that last year.
You might need to look at the quarterback position a little bit.
Probably do. But are you going to be willing to pay the piper?
If he's a bridge. right? If you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo as a bridge quarterback, and
2 to 3 year bridge.
yeah, or even just a year bridge, right? You decide that you're
Is
gonna
there someone in that next draft that coming up after that? Yeah,
maybe
there's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple guys.
There's a couple.
So you look at it and you're like, you know what? We need Jimmy to get us through a year, maybe two. You go in, you extend him for an extra year, whatever that is. Then it starts making more sense. I just still don't think he's a real scheme fit, though.
Not there. Not with Dabble. Not with what they want to do offensively.
With New England, 1,000%.
He's 100% a scheme fit, Ant. But what about Tampa Bay? Is he a scheme fit in Tampa Bay? Because I don't think he is at all whatsoever. But Tampa is going to have to do something at the quarterback position. With Tom Brady up and retiring and not retiring and then going on a show afterwards 2 days later. I mean, he's retired from Tampa. He's retired from Tampa Bay.
He did retire from Tampa Bay.
He's done with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is he done with football? We'll wait to
be
see.
Seen, yeah.
It's literally to be continued at this point. We don't know. But Tampa's gonna have to do something about the quarterback position, and they don't got a heck of a lot of money.
Wait, you're not excited about Blaine Gabbert or Kyle Trask?
No. Just no, man. It's just no. As much as I liked Kyle Trask at Florida and what he helped do there as a Florida Gator fan, he was not. It's not a quarterback. An NFL quarterback.
I gave him like a 4th or 5th round grade. It's just it wasn't good.
Yeah.
There's not a lot there.
No.
So no, I don't see those guys as potential. I think they do need to make a move. Wherever they go all in on somebody, they can't really afford an Aaron Rodgers. They can't afford a Russell Wilson. They can't afford a Deshaun Watson.
Nope.
They don't have the money. I wonder if they have the money even for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think so. To me, Tampa Bay is one of the least likely spots for Jimmy Garoppolo to land, even though it has pretty high odds according to Vegas.
I don't know why.
Because Tom Brady's gone, Jimmy Garoppolo was his successor in New England. Obviously, ipso facto, insert
it's
Jimmy
a storyline. It just makes sense.
Insert Jimmy taking over for Tom. Tom taking over for Jimmy. It just sounds good.
It may sound good, but I don't know how good it is. And I'm be 100% honest. I don't believe that's a situation that's going to work out. Is it the least likely situation? I don't know about least likely. Is it the one that the most hoops have to be jumped through in order to make it work? Might be, other than New Orleans, if it were the Saints.
I think it would be a situation Jimmy would be interested in.
Because it's a winning situation.
It's a roster that they got big time weapons, they got a good defense, especially if they could bring some of those guys back.
Accurate.
You would feel comfortable going in there with your opportunity. You stay in the NFC where you know that's the best avenue to get to a Super Bowl. I think it sounds good to him, but I don't think it sounds good to Bruce Arians and what he likes to do on offense, and ultimately that salary that he's going to have to make, and that what players are you going to lose then?
You'll lose somebody.
A lot of somebodies.
A lot of somebodies. You were not wrong there.
Godwin and Ndamukong Suh, a lot of those guys, yeah.
They're probably gone. If you bring in Jimmy, absolutely. Next up, a team that may be off the radar for a lot of teams, a lot of people as well, the Las Vegas Raiders, Ant, because you have Derek Carr sitting there who put together his best statistical year, because that matters to people for some reason whatsoever. It matters. And you have people saying that the Raiders could stick with him more, and they could ship him off for a 1 easily ship him off for a 1, which I still cannot wrap my tiny. Apparently, it's a tiny brain. I'm 0 IQ Alex over here, because in no world would I give up a 1 for Derek Carr at all whatsoever. I've heard people say he's basically in the same mold as Matt Stafford in terms of a guy who's played with a team who hasn't had a lot of talent around him. And I really hate to break this to y'all. Matt Stafford has thrown for 4,000 plus yards in every season in the league that he started 16 games and played in 16 games, except for 1. Derek Carr has done it 4 times.
That he's actually somebody I think is a possibility to get moved in the right scenario, right? Tampa Bay might be willing to give a first round pick for Carr.
I agree with you.
Because you could give a couple picks, and maybe it's a Matthew Stafford style of deal. When you have a team that's built to win right now, you go all in on Derek Carr. He has the big arm. That's something Bruce Arians would definitely like. And then you turn around Josh McDaniels, a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo that understands the offense.
And your system.
Then you reach out to the 49ers, and you can give them a lot less. In fact, if you got 2 1s and a 3 like Matthew Stafford, you could turn around and trade a 2 and a 3 to the 49ers for Jimmy Garoppolo, and you've had a net gain there. I think that is a possibility, because I think the style of offense that Josh McDaniels want to run, I think Derek Carr will do well, but Jimmy Garoppolo already understands that offense. So there's less of a learning curve, and then you can also just capitalize on you're trying to turn everything around. Yeah, you had a playoff team, but you're trying to build it to win in the AFC. You turn around and use those 2 first-round picks, to your advantage, all the while, getting in a quarterback that maybe Josh McDaniels feels more comfortable with.
Oh, Ant, are you telling me that if the odds are crazy in Vegas, which we know they are for the Raiders, they're not very high, that if someone were to go out there and drop $100 and it worked, it could actually pan out in their favor?
It could, yeah.
but we don't give betting advice here. So I would say don't do it or don't take our advice on it. But look, I think I agree with you. I think the Vegas Raiders are actually not as crazy of an option as some people may think. If McDaniels wants to bring in a quarterback who understands the system right off the get-go with the roster they already have in place, then Jimmy might be the guy for him. It might be the guy. And you know what the best news is for a guy like McDaniels? He's going to have a security blanket of a slot receiver in Hunter Renfrow that Jimmy and Hunter Renfrow would absolutely light it up.
They're already best friends and they don't even know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We saw the success he had with Trent Taylor. We saw all the successes quarterbacks like Tom Brady had with the Wes Wilkers of the world, right? With the Julian Edelmans of the world. You have to imagine that, Jimmy having a guy like that he could go to, and Hunter who's going to win one-on-one and things of that nature, that would just be a great thing for Josh in the offense. Now, granted, Derek Carr has shown that he can success and thrive with those things as well. But what Derek Carr has not been really known for is making solid decisions and being able to read the field and get the ball out where he's supposed to consistently throughout his career. He's got the big arm. He can take the deep shot. He can take the one-on-one chances and the 50-50 balls, and it pans out sometimes, and other times it doesn't. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the Vegas Raiders decide to do, Ant. But now we're going to start to get into teams that are a little bit more in that range of in the conversation. I guess in the ballpark would be the right way to put it for Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers, starting with who I think personally is the lowest team on that totem pole, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're the furthest team out of all the teams that we're about to talk about. They do have $20 million cap space, so they can afford to eat that contract and make a couple of moves and not really miss out on a whole lot in order to bring Jimmy Garoppolo back in, or, just sign him to an extension and push money down the road. But are they really ready to move away from Jalen Hurts and give up on the Jalen Hurts experiment? I know I've heard some grumblings that maybe this is time and you have the talent and the pieces around to be able to do something. You just made the playoffs. Maybe you get a guy in like Jimmy Garoppolo and you can, fix some of this. And maybe Sirianni's realizing, hey, if I can rely on the run game, take some pressure off my quarterback, we can have some success.
They should. They should think about moving off Jalen Hurts. I think that he is, a low-level starting quarterback in this league, and I think that he relies a lot on his athletic ability, and sometimes that is not a good situation. What you have is a good offensive line there. You have some really good blockers. You have a emerging run game. I think Sirianni should look at, developing and getting a different quarterback. Is that guy Jimmy Garoppolo, though? You have the speed on the outside. You have Jalen Reagor. You have the guys you want to take the top off the defense with. So Jimmy Garoppolo is not known for that. He's known for getting the ball out quick. So if you want to have a good run game and then get the ball in your playmakers' hands early and let them create, maybe that is what you want to go to. With Smith and awesome. Jalen Reagor maybe not being complete all the time going over the top, but actually catching balls, and making runs after the catch. Maybe that is what he wants to transition to. If you're going to go play action and that, then Jimmy Garoppolo makes sense. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an upgrade over Jalen Hurts. I haven't seen anything from Jalen Hurts that makes me believe that he is a high-end NFL starting caliber quarterback. I think he can do what he did. He can help you win 10 football games, but I don't think he's a guy that you're going to see in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl, unless I'm missing something, but I just don't see it. I think Jimmy would be an upgrade there. I just don't know if they're willing to change their philosophy from the deep shots and what they're trying to do. We do know Jalen Hurts checks down more than almost any quarterback in the league.
True. So
Jimmy Garoppolo would be already an improvement over that, right? He gets the ball 9 yards down the field.
I agree, and he does. As much as people say that Jimmy Garoppolo just checks the football down, Jimmy Garoppolo throws over the middle of the field and in through traffic more than a lot of other quarterbacks. People talked about all the time how Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those guys on that chart, the big chart of, good positive throws versus negative bad throws. Jimmy is always near the bottom. And Jimmy makes a lot of risky throws.
He does.
I don't know if y'all noticed this or not. He throws the ball in a lot of tight windows all the time. And yet, not a tight window ball thrower. He's just absolutely terrible at it. And yet he makes the most risky throws in the league. It's crazy. It's almost like narratives don't always line up with what people want them to be. I think this is a long shot, only because I don't know if Sirianni is ready to give up on what he wants that system to be. I think personally the Philadelphia Eagles played their best football when they ran the football first and focused and emphasized the run game. I think their O-line is built to run the football. I don't think it's built to just chuck deep. Personally, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would be a good fit if they wanted to go to more of that kind of style where you run the football, use play action to play off of it. I think you have the speed at the wide receiver position, top to bottom, to be able to do it. I think you have a tight end in Dallas Goedert who's good enough in the run blocking game and phenomenal in the pass catching game that you have almost a duplicate of what you have in San Francisco, where you could cut and paste what Jimmy is going to be, and you're a team that can make an NFC Championship game each and every year in a very weak conference. Weak conference.
I think the Eagles will be more inclined to go more of a Mitchell Trubisky route.
I agree with you.
Because you could bring in Mitchell Trubisky, make him compete with Jalen Hurts. Trubisky does have the better arm. He can get the ball downfield. He's still athletic. He can run the read option. So that's why maybe it doesn't make the most sense. You would have to change up your philosophy a little bit.
Yep.
You don't have to change it up with Mitchell Trubisky. So I think maybe that would be a better option for them, but we'll see. You never know how desperate a team is going to get because they did make the playoffs. What that Philadelphia really wants is to get farther into the playoffs and possibly win a Super Bowl. And there's a guy out there in Jimmy Garoppolo that's been to 2 NFC Championship games and one of those a Super Bowl appearance. That's got to be somewhat appealing to a team that's looking to get there.
They're definitely going to kick the tires on it.
Yeah.
That's true. They're going to do that. Another team that's probably going to kick the tires on this whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation is the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers are in desperate need for quarterback play, and after the experiment with the Ghostbuster himself, who did not bust any ghosts, but instead got busted by ghosts yet again, Sam Darnold, didn't pan out for them. They gave up a second, a fourth, and a sixth in order to accomplish that. Get him there. Did not go in their favor.
So you don't feel comfortable with Phillip Walker or
PJ Walker or Sam Darnold going into next season? Yeah. No, you can guarantee you're picking at the bottom end of the draft. Now, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this with Jimmy Landing because everyone and their grandmother is talking about how if the Niners are going to trade with the Carolina Panthers, you have to include Christian McCaffrey in the trade. Thoughts on this? Because I've seen nothing but people going, if you're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to them, they're desperate. They said they'll move off of Christian McCaffrey. You bring him in. I know he's been injured, but it's Christian freaking McCaffrey.
I'm not paying $15 million to a running back.
Thank you.
Not in the Kyle Shanahan system. I think money-wise it makes sense, right? You're moving off, but part of the reason you're moving Jimmy Garoppolo is to free up $25 million. You're not incurring a $15 million running back. He's dynamic, but he doesn't stay healthy. We're talking about paying Raheem Mostert a minimum amount of money to bring him back because we're fearful of the injuries, not the dynamic nature at which he plays. It's the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. You're not paying him $15 million in Kyle Shanahan's system. So no, I don't want him involved in that deal. In fact, I want draft picks from them, and they don't even have as many as I want because they've given them up for Stephon Gilmore and for Sam Darnold and
who's not coming back
for anyone else. They've just been making all these moves. They went all in when Darnold was winning a few games. They're like, oh, here we go.
We made the right decision. Now let's go get Stephon Gilmore and make this all better. And it blew up in their face.
Now, here's a question for you because we know Kyle Shanahan has some interest in Sam Darnold. It was reported last year that he was interested.
True.
Would Sam Darnold being involved in that deal make you feel comfortable with him coming back? I know he signed an extension, so you would have to incur some of that cost. But, would you get a pick and maybe Sam Darnold to be your backup quarterback behind Trey Lance?
The pick better be a second-round pick.
Oh, it could be. No, let's say a second-round pick.
If it's a second and Sam Darnold, then that is an enticing deal.
Yeah.
Because as a backup quarterback, I don't mind Sam Darnold.
Right, and he's got similar skill set to Trey Lance. He's got the big arm, similar body style. His problem is he just hasn't been able to read coverages and get the ball out where he needs to get it.
Correct.
But, maybe he could develop into a solid backup quarterback for the 49ers. So
he's still young.
Something for people to think about. Maybe Carolina, because we know Carolina wanted Trey Lance. We know Carolina wanted to jump up and make a move.
Maybe they'll settle for Jimmy Garoppolo.
They might. They might settle for Jimmy Garoppolo because they've made some moves with that offensive scheme. They've changed the way that they're going to play. And we know they're about to go more run first. I think that's another reason they're not going to be willing to move off of Christian McCaffrey.
Agreed with you there at number one. And number two, I wouldn't want to move off of Christian McCaffrey. Move on to Christian McCaffrey from Jimmy Garoppolo. I want to free up the space. You can't free up the space if you're eating $15 million of it in return.
McCaffrey's a dynamite player, but Raheem Mostert is a more advantageous option because he's cheaper.
How cheap he is.
He's a lot cheaper, and you're not locked into that extended contract that McCaffrey has. And you're dealing with 2 injuries, but we're talking about chip cartilage compared to the ACL tears and stuff that
McCaffrey's been dealing with serious injuries. I mean, the lower leg, the ankle sprain stuff that he was dealing with was grade 2, grade 3 straining of those ligaments. On top of the fact that he's coming off the ACL and everything else he's dealt with, and he's just taking a punishment. He's taken a big punishment very early in his career, and it's already showing its effects right now on the guy, and it's unfortunate. It truly is.
So you heard it here first. Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick at Sam Darnold.
Listen, that's not my most ideal trade there in that scenario, but that's not the worst trade I've ever heard.
Right.
Really not. You're getting a player and a second-round pick back for a player.
I mean, I wish it was a more dynamic player, but
100% agreed.
It would definitely secure your
solves your quarterback situation going into next year, and we're barely through free agency.
Yeah.
That's nice. I love that. Next up, Houston Texans, and a team with $18.8 million in cap space. Desperate need for quarterback situation. Davis Mills has shown flashes and promise, but he needs time. I think you and I both agree that he needs time.
Lovie Smith came out and said Davis Mills is going to be a starting quarterback moving forward.
Goodness.
I think though some of that is posturing because you know Deshaun Watson situation. I think he's saying it more that direction because Deshaun Watson's going to get moved. Everyone knows it's just a matter of time, but I think a lot of people are still waiting on his legal situation. Now, the report is 4 or 5 teams are not afraid of his legal situation. So, I guess
the 49ers one of those teams?
I don't think so. And it's not so much a legal situation as a civil situation.
True.
So I think that the only reason it makes sense is because Caserio. He's familiar with Jimmy Garoppolo from his time in New England. So, I mean, there's an option there. But I think that they're in a rebuilding. I think they're actually going to move off some other veteran players. So I think that it would make more sense to stick with Davis Mills. He also had a pretty good run there at the end. He was playing pretty well. I think you roll with the guy and you let him develop. You get all the draft capital from Deshaun Watson and you build that way. To me, Lovie Smith's ideology and what he's going to want to do, he's going to want to run the football and play really good defense. So he's going to want to trade Deshaun Watson and build around the defense. I don't think he's going to want to use assets for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I agree with you there. I don't think he's going to want to. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. There may be a draft pick scenario, especially if there are 4 or 5 teams that are going to move for Deshaun Watson and give up, closer to what they're asking for with the first round picks and things of that nature, then you could be looking at a situation where they're going, hey, we'd be fine with giving up a second and something else.
Oh, I think they would. The question is, what is Lovey going to want to put into the defense? If you could turn around and take everything you get from the Deshaun Watson trade and turn it into defensive players, you have some offensive talent there. But if your defense becomes elite, especially in that AFC South, it might be something they're willing to do. Remember, they didn't hire an offensive coach.
True.
They had the ability to hire an offensive coach. They took a different role, and that was to go defense. So I think they would have a pick, but you wonder, is that a lateral move? Are you going Jimmy Garoppolo, to bridge to Davis? You already have him.
His name is Davis Mills?
Yeah. I called him Davis.
That's true.
Yeah, we're on a first name basis. Well, I actually like Davis Mills.
I know you do.
Yeah, I was one of the guys that was even thinking the Niners, and if they didn't go quarterback in round 1, of course, it's more when they were pick 12. But
it's true.
You go Davis Mills in the second round. I thought that was potential for someone that could develop under 1 year under Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm not going to move off that now.
Very true, Ant. And nor should you. Nor should you. The next team, the Miami Dolphins, a team that has a butt ton of cap. In fact, the most cap space. The most cap space out of everyone. Sitting at currently, I think it's about $61 million in cap space, and a lot of money available for the Miami Dolphins. McDaniels has come out and said that, Tua's his guy, and he's looking forward to developing him and putting him in the best possible positions to be successful. But what if Mike McDaniels gets there and taking a look at Tua and is like, you know what? I am going to put you in the best possible situation to be successful a year from now.
On the bench?
1 year from now. You're going to sit a whole year under this guy who knows how to run the system. You're going to see how it's done. You're going to see how the reads are, just like Trey Lance did, and then it'll be your time to shine, Tua. Could you see that?
No, not now. I think before he was going there, I thought there was potential for him to bring Jimmy Garoppolo with him, a quick turnaround. You have a ready-to-go defense. So if you wanted a quick turnaround, you roll with Jimmy Garoppolo. However, just listening to what he said about Tua Tagovailoa, it seems like ownership was very important for them for someone to try to develop Tua. But I think they're going to give it a year. I think he's going to go in and see how Tua fits in his offense. Is he the left-handed version of Jimmy Garoppolo? That's what some people say. So you go in there, you see if he can develop in Mike McDaniel's system, and if not, then you make a move next year. And one of those moves could be to sign Jimmy Garoppolo as a free agent.
It's true.
So the thing is Mike McDaniel doesn't have to make that play this year. He doesn't have to give up draft capital for Jimmy Garoppolo. He can play it out with Tua Tagovailoa. And then he can either address it in the draft or with Jimmy Garoppolo as a free agent or both next year.
Accurate.
I think those are all situations he can take advantage of. But this year it's going to be about building the offense, building the run game. And I think that, Tua would benefit from having a better run game. So I think that is one of those ones I'm kind of putting on the back burner right now. You never say never, but McDaniel's saying that I think he believes he can whisper to Tua and get Tua in the right position to win.
Look, I think that Tua is very talented, athletic, has a lot of good traits and positive things, and he has some questionable stuff as well. Can McDaniels get the best of him? Yeah, I think a run game would help. I mean, it's a reality situation. Miami Dolphins had no run game. It was on the quarterback at all times, no matter who it was, whether it was Fitzmagic, whether it was Tua, whether it was Jacoby Brissett. Your quarterback had to do it all.
It helped the defense, too.
That, too. It was on a lot of them at all times. They had to be playing at an A-plus level, otherwise that team wasn't going to have success. And when they weren't playing at an A-plus level, not a lot of good things going on. I think Mike McDaniels helps out a lot there, and I think he's willing to give that chance to him there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Tua. We'll see if that's actually the decision he goes, or if he pulls the curveball last minute. It's like, nope, Jimmy right now. We'll see. I don't expect that to be the case. But a team, Ant, that not a lot of people think of, that is completely in the realm of possibility of being able to land themselves a Jimmy Garoppolo. Being able to go, hey Jimmy, it's really nice over here in Indianapolis. Carson Wentz couldn't cut the cheese, but you know what? Maybe you could. Maybe you should come over here. The Colts, Ant, they have $36 million. Oh, is that 36? Yeah, $36.9 million in cap space. That's a lot of cheddar. They can 100% eat Jimmy Garoppolo's contract. The question is, after everything that just happened with Carson Wentz, are they willing to take another chance on a guy who's had some injury history like Jimmy Garoppolo, and would it make sense for him?
What is the alternative? If you're moving on from Carson Wentz,
and it seems, and all signs point to yes.
Yeah.
It seems like they are done, and it's apparently, per Pat McAfee on his show, it ain't just on the field. Apparently, it's also off the field as well.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking to make a move there. We know Frank Reich had a very good relationship with Carson Wentz. So if that's not working out, you have to make a move. The question is, who is available? Who's going to be that guy they can bring in? Russell Wilson ain't going to be willing to go to Indianapolis. That's not somewhere where Ciara wants to be. So mark that off the list. Aaron Rodgers, probably not exactly an Indy guy. So you probably mark that off the list. But where are they going to go with this? It seems like Jimmy Garoppolo is a viable option unless they decide to go the draft route. There's not very many options there. The Colts are going to have to make some decisions. Are they going to be a team that goes with Mitchell Trubisky? Are they going to be a team that goes with Andy Dalton?
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston. Why would you let go of Carson Wentz for those type of situations? I think that they're making a move knowing that they have a quarterback in mind. Who that is going to be, I don't know, but it definitely puts Jimmy Garoppolo in the realm of possibilities. And I think that actually they're a team that's poised to win. They have a good run game. They have a very good defense. One person that can attest to how Jimmy Garoppolo is in the locker room is Buckner. DeForest Buckner could, he can sign off on this and say, no, this guy's going to bring it. And if it's a culture thing that they need fixed, Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those.
In a hurry.
He's one of those ones to do it, right? He's going to be a good guy in the locker room. Everyone's going to be able to rally around him. He's a good leader on the football field. So I think the Colts do make sense. I think it was surprising they're moving on from Carson Wentz, but moving to Jimmy Garoppolo would make sense, especially the way that, the weapons that they have. They might be moving on from T.Y. Hilton. So there's some decisions there, but it may be a little bit of a change of philosophy, and Frank Reich going less of what he's been doing lately and more to what they were doing in Philly.
Very accurate, Ant. Very accurate indeed. The surprising revelation is not a revelation early in the season. Coming into the end of the season, if you had said the Indianapolis Colts were a likely landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo, would have been like, about that. It's looking like that could be the case. We'll see what decisions they actually make, if they actually do decide to pull the trigger and move off of Carson.
And one crazy thing that I saw on Twitter was people calling for the 49ers to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Colts or DeForest Buckner, sending Jimmy Garoppolo and a pick to the Colts to get Buckner back.
Why? I love Defoe. I love Defoe.
It'd be about a $4 million cap savings.
Why are 49ers? There are some 49ers fans, Ant, that are so fixated on getting DeForest Buckner back that they would rather lose with DeForest Buckner than have a
I haven't seen anyone
that can win a Super Bowl.
actually say that. But
they might as well say it.
You're not paying DeForest Buckner over $20 million, and Armstead over $20 million, and then extending Bosa for close to $30 million. You're just not. But I thought I'd bring it up because it's something that people are talking about.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not.
It's not gonna happen.
But we bring it up. We talk about it for a second. We discard it. We never bring it up again.
Yeah, never, ever, ever. No money a sponsor could pay. Speaking of sponsors, we still don't have one. Let's move on from the Indianapolis Colts to a team that we're starting to get into that territory, Ant. Territory of teams that really, really need a quarterback. And some of them that feel a quarterback changes everything. Maybe a quarterback is the difference between them making playoffs. Some of them may think even they could win them a Super Bowl. And let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. The old factory of men, where men, the gridiron, the steel curtain, the place where hard-nosed football was, some people would say born and bred. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to go there. All right, but the leader of men, Ben Roethlisberger, he's gone. He's retiring, sailing off into the sunset. There was talks about Mike Tomlin flirting with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's going to happen. I just don't think he wants to go from one cold place to another cold place and stay on that side of the country. I think he wants to migrate west towards warmer weather.
Also in the AFC.
Also that too. You don't want to be there. You don't want to deal with all the quarterback situations they have going on there. Could Jimmy Garoppolo legitimately be an option? The Pittsburgh Steelers have $29 million in cap space. This kind of makes sense. The team that wants to run the football. They do have some O-line stuff they have to iron out, and they're not going to be willing to give up a first-round pick to iron those things out. You want to try and grab an offensive lineman, I would imagine, the first round of this draft, and try and shore that bad boy up so you can run the football effectively with Najee Harris. Is this an upgrade over Big Ben? Does this make sense?
Yeah, it's a huge upgrade over Big Ben. The last 2 years of Big Ben, not the career of Big Ben.
Not Big Ben's career. The last 2 years.
Big Ben was very good for a long time, but the last 2 years, he wasn't. And it's all about checkdowns, right? It's all been about rhythm passing. That is something Jimmy Garoppolo does well. I think he fits the mindset as well. That blue collar mentality.
True.
I think he would fit in well. They got Najee Harris. You're right. They do need to build the offensive line, but they could renegotiate Jimmy Garoppolo's deal, lower that money so you could bring in a Ryan Jensen to play center, or you could bring in a Laken Tomlinson, to play guard. There are options out there and moves that they can make, but they first have to make a move to get a quarterback. And right now, you can't go in with who you have at quarterback.
No.
That is a big mistake. Ryan Clark yelled he would be on the Jimmy Garoppolo train in a heartbeat if that was his two choices. So he's definitely going Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an option for the Steelers. I think that they probably like a quarterback or two in the draft, but the likelihood of those quarterbacks being ready to roll this next year and putting you in a time where you can compete, I don't see it. So I think that you want to get a bridge guy. Jimmy Garoppolo is the perfect guy. He just proved what he could do as a bridge guy for Trey Lance. Now he could do the same sort of thing for your football team. We know the Steelers and the Rooney family likes to win football games.
True.
They want to be competing every single year. And one of the ways you do it is to make sure you keep reloading on these guys. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an option for them. It has to be the right price because you're right. They need to build around Najee Harris and this young core, Chase Claypool and those guys. But Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy that could succeed in that. You wonder, though, how much will a Claypool or those guys be excited about having a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo that's going to be more of a rhythm guy, more of an over-the-middle guy, and not a guy that takes shots down the field?
I imagine they're not going to be too thrilled about that. Deontay Johnson's not going to be thrilled about that. Claypool wouldn't be thrilled about that.
Juju would love it.
That is true.
If he came back.
That's the key. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But Pittsburgh is entirely a landing spot. I think this is one of the more likely places. I think all the teams that we're about to talk about now are the most likely of places. It just makes the most sense. All of these places do. They have pieces in place. Pittsburgh definitely has a winning culture. Jimmy talked about wanting to be in a spot that is a winning culture, winning franchise, a franchise that wants to win. This is a franchise that has won and wants to win. Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in his entire career.
And you also have a locker room right with questions. Chase Claypool acting weird. You had the situations with Antonio Brown. You put a stabilizing force like Jimmy Garoppolo in that locker
Juju
room.
went from upstart young receiver with potential sky high and everyone loving everything he could do to dancing on logos and making a fool of himself.
Yeah, and now Jimmy rolls in there, and you know how everyone loves him, and he challenges everyone to be that sort of player. And he's coming off the fact that, hey, I've been in 2 NFC championship games in the last 3 years. When I'm healthy, we win. I think there's a lot of respect for that.
There's definitely a lot of respect for that. And he can help change that culture, that locker room, something that they've been struggling desperately to try and do. And AB put a lot of that on Ben Roethlisberger. Well, Ben's gone. AB is also gone. And so now maybe a new infusion of a new quarterback who's done nothing but win his entire career. Watched winning happen in New England, came to San Francisco and won when healthy. Maybe that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers need, and maybe they're going to be willing to pay for it in order to make that happen. We'll see. But another team, Ant, a team that is desperate to draw attention off of everything that is Washington Commanders and onto their quarterback situation and play on the field. Talk about a team that could use a quarterback. The Washington Commanders. Taylor Heineke experiment didn't work out. Ryan Fitzpatrick experiment, wheels fell off before the season even got started, but first play into the season being started. This is a team that could definitely use an upgrade at the quarterback position and has put every available asset on the table to improve the quarterback situation. They even talked about pick number 11. Probably not for Jimmy Garoppolo, probably for Aaron Rodgers or someone else.
Yeah.
Like that. But are not shy about wanting to upgrade the quarterback position. How likely is this?
Washington Commanders would love to get Aaron Rodgers. He says he doesn't want to go there. So, boom, that one's gone. Russell Wilson, they would love to get him. I don't think Seattle's going to move off of him. So your options now for a big move are the big fish that is Deshaun Watson. Are you feeling comfortable with his civil case? Is he going to be able to play this year? Are you willing to give up all that draft capital? Are you willing to give up an elite defensive player? Because I think if you are willing to give up an elite defensive player, the Houston Texans are going to listen. Lovie Smith wants to revamp that defense. So if you're willing to, but what was the going rate? It was 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a starting defensive player.
Oh, that's a lot.
That is a lot to give up to go get Deshaun Watson. Now, they said everyone is on the list, and maybe if they're giving up one of those elite players, one of those first-round picks goes away. But that's still a lot. At what point do the Washington Commanders just look over and be like, you know what? We can do all that for Deshaun Watson. There's still questions up in the air. Or we can get Jimmy Garoppolo. He can help us win football games all the while we decide what the future is going to look like. If Jimmy comes in and plays really well, we can sign him to an extension. He can play here for 4 or 5 more years while we're figuring things out. But Ron Rivera needs to win football games. Daniel Snyder needs the team to win football games. Martin Mayhew is the GM, and he understands who Jimmy Garoppolo is. He knows what kind of winning culture he's been a part of. You bring that in to get that piece of it, because Ron Rivera is a losing season away from being gone. Dan Snyder, another abysmal season, means the Commander jokes go more to the commies. All this stuff is building up, and it's funny right now, but it's a thing that's really going to affect these guys in the long run. They have to make some big decisions, and they have to bring in a quarterback that can help win football games. When you have a great defense like that, you have a very good running back, and you have some talent like Scary Terry. You need to take advantage of them while you can. If not, those guys are going to be gone. Ron Rivera is going to be looking for a job, and Martin Mayhew is one quarterback decision away from losing his GM spot.
You're not wrong. It's just still so funny that the fact that we can make the commies joke in the world we live in, bro. This is 2022. My word almighty. But you're not wrong. Dan Snyder needs that attention off that name.
Yeah.
He's gone. You don't need any more negative. That team needs no more negative publicity. That team, the organization, your stadium, everything about your place stinks. Literally and figuratively. It stinks. If you're Washington, everything sucks. It sucked when you were the Washington football team. Your stadium was stunk so bad that it was breaking sewage pipelines during games. Your stands and your stadium, your railings are falling apart. Everything about that organization is falling apart. Except for the play on the field for the most part. I mean, listen, they didn't have a great year this year, but they made the playoffs the year before. They were close this year to making the playoffs yet again. Ron Rivera's sitting there going, look, I may be out of a job unless we can get back and win some football games, and you're playing in one of the worst divisions in all of the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo could solve all those problems, and you don't have to overpay for it.
What he does is give you a face, too.
Well, he gives you a face, right? The clean-cut Washington Commanders led by Jimmy Garoppolo, who are all about business and nothing else but business.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he could help, that team a lot. The question is whether they're willing to make that move, and we'll see. I think that Riverboat Ron, he likes to gamble.
He does like to gamble.
So I think
what kind of gamble is he making here? Is he going all in with a guy like Deshaun Watson and pushing all the chips into the table? Or is that what the plan is? Or are they going to roll, right? With the pre-hand, you got your nice ace three offsuit, and the flop comes down with a nice 2 and a 4 and a 10, and you're one card away from a straight. And you're rolling with Jimmy Garoppolo, because that's what Jimmy Garoppolo is. Jimmy Garoppolo is one card away from a straight, and you winning the hand and winning the Super Bowl.
I'm pretty sure if they had their choice, they're going 2 firsts, Montez Sweat a third for Deshaun Watson.
I mean, I think that was their choice.
I think that they believe that getting Deshaun Watson, they're not only the favorites to win the division, but one of the favorites to possibly win the NFC, because they have a very good defense. And you
didn't lose Chase Young.
You didn't lose Chase Young in the process. So yeah, I think that's what they would prefer to do. But is that going to be on the table? Because the one thing is, once you offer that, then the Texans know where you're willing to go, and they might want more. They might want Chase Young. So you have to make a decision there. And at what point do you just look and it's better for us to keep this draft capital, bring more young players in, bring Jimmy Garoppolo in, and then evaluate the quarterback position after this year, because Jimmy is at least 15th best quarterback in the league.
At the very least, and here's the other thing too. The Washington Commanders, as they are now called, have been an organization, a franchise that have not made a lot of good decisions under Dan Snyder. Just haven't. A lot of things they've done, not the right decisions. They had Shanahan, they had Mike Shanahan in the house with Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Matt LaFleur all there, and and Mike McDaniels, let all of them walk, right? You had all these great head coaching choices and options. I can see them making a move that ends with them dealing Chase Young and a bunch of firsts in order to obtain Deshaun Watson, and that could blow up in all their faces. I think the safe route would be Jimmy Garoppolo. The question is Riverboat Ron want to take the safe route here and win football games?
Is it going to be Dan Snyder making the move, or is it going to be Martin Mayhew?
That's the truth.
If Martin Mayhew's making the decision, it'll be more shrewd. If it is Dan Snyder, they're going to do something big.
Hello, Deshaun Watson.
Hello, Deshaun Watson. I think they're really in on him. I think that's a possibility.
I don't think you're wrong, Ant. I don't think you're wrong. And I believe this is the last team now on the docket to talk about, which is the Denver Broncos, Ant.
Mm-hmm.
The Denver Broncos, a team that has a pretty good defense. They just moved on from their coach, Vic Fangio, the defensive guy, and brought themselves in a Hackett of a coach there. One Nathaniel Hackett there to run the organization there, run the team. In a system that is very similar to what Jimmy Garoppolo ran with the 49ers. Could this make sense? Could this fit? I think it does fit, and it does work, and they do have the cap space, $39 million. Yeah. Is this the most likely option?
I think that they would like to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think they would love for Aaron Rodgers to come in and take over that job. The likelihood of that happening, I don't know. But I think they're actually in on Aaron Rodgers. So they're going to be patient with this thing. So the 49ers, will they get impatient and move on another way? I think he does make sense for the Broncos because they're going to run a similar system. The terminology and everything is going to be the same. You could develop a young quarterback under him, even if that's Drew Lock. I don't think it's Drew Lock, so they'll probably move on from Drew Lock at some point. I think that the Jimmy Garoppolo to the Broncos is a possibility, but I think it all hinges on what happens with Aaron Rodgers.
I agree with you.
I think the decision has to be made there because I think everything lines up for that, right? If you're going to trade Aaron Rodgers, you want to move him to the AFC. You want to move him, to a place he's going to feel comfortable because then he's willing to sign off on it. And Nathaniel Hackett and the Denver Broncos makes the most sense. They're going to run the exact same system. They have some young players there, receivers like Jerry Jeudy, guys that he can count on. There's always the possibility you could bring in Devontae Adams.
They got enough cap space
to make it happen. So I think that until the Aaron Rodgers thing is decided, that Denver Broncos is Aaron Rodgers first, and then somebody like a Jimmy Garoppolo next.
I would agree with you there. I think those are the two options. I think those are the two guys that they want. I think it's Aaron Rodgers 1, Jimmy Garoppolo 2, which is why I think the Jimmy Garoppolo market right now is in flux, is because Aaron Rodgers kind of holds up a lot of things, because I think a lot of places would rather have Aaron Rodgers before Jimmy Garoppolo, even though Jimmy Garoppolo beats him in the playoffs. I'm just saying that Aaron Rodgers obviously is a logical choice for a lot of these places.
You would take Aaron Rodgers over
100%. If we could find a way to get Aaron Rodgers into San Francisco tomorrow, I would do it. I would do it, Ant. And maybe there is a way. I don't know if people want to talk about that way, but there may be a way.
Oh, gosh. I don't want to talk about it right now. But what I will say is that, I think that all these teams that we talked about, there's at least a potential, for it to happen.
True.
I think we're going to find out a lot more, when they get to the combine and all these GMs and personnel people are around each other and they're having these conversations about what could happen. And John Lynch could be talking, to one guy and walk across the room and talk to somebody else. Like, hey, you know what?
Look at this guy, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Rule over here is willing to give me a 2 or 3 and Sam Darnold. Are you sure you're not willing to give me a couple 2s for Jimmy Garoppolo? I think there's going to be a lot of side dealings. I think these guys are going to have a lot of conversations. The one thing I do know is wherever Jimmy Garoppolo goes, it's going to be a good situation for them because the Niners want to make sure that is going to happen.
True.
But also the 49ers are going to try to get back the most capital that they can get.
100%, and they should. They absolutely should. You want to get as much as you can for Jimmy Garoppolo. You want to get the most pieces, whether that's draft picks or a pick and player, as you can to help this football team win right now, because this team is built to win right now.
Yeah.
They're going to try and address that, which is why, it doesn't make sense for them to bring in, a big cap hit number like a Christian McCaffrey. You're freeing up this money so that you can go make the moves in free agency you need to make before the draft, so you know exactly what you want to target come draft time.
Yeah, you need to bring back your guys first.
Absolutely.
There are some priority free agents within your own building that you need to bring back, and once you bring those guys back, then you'll know what you need to do in free agency on the outside. I don't know how many big splashy moves they're going to make in free agency. I think it could be a lot of the second or third wave kind of guys that they bring in, but guys who have, a lot of potential that could potentially give you a lot of bang for your buck. So I think a lot of times, moving off the money is the most important thing for Jimmy Garoppolo. The kind of what we get back is important, but not as important as freeing up that contract. And I think as long as they end up with some sort of a second round pick, I think I'll be happy with that. You're getting the same value you got when you traded for him, but adding that to what you gave up for Trey Lance, well, if you come into this season with 2 second round picks, you may not have a first, but you're talking about 2 seconds sounds pretty good.
Doesn't sound bad, Ant. Cutback. Actually, before we go to the wrap up here, let's make a prediction. Ant, if you had to predict a place for Jimmy Garoppolo to land, where is it? And what are we getting for him?
If I had to go all in on a guess, I'm going to say it's the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
And I think they end up giving a 2 and a 4 And I think the 4 is a conditional, like we've talked about. It can escalate to a 3, depending on performance. If he makes the playoffs and if he plays, 13 or more games.
Okay, I like it. I could see that happening. I definitely do. I'm going to say it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like that. That was my second choice.
I'm going to go with the second and a third with an escalator to a second.
Ooh.
Because I think what you're going to end up having is a bidding war. I think you're going to get at some point a bidding war with teams willing to give up seconds or multiple a second and another pick or maybe 2 other picks in order to get to Jimmy. And I think the Niners settle on a Pittsburgh Steelers second and a third with an escalator to a second.
So I don't get Chase Claypool now.
I mean, look, I want it. I will say this right now, Cutback Crew. If they go talk to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Steelers say, listen, we'll either give you a second and like a third or a fourth with a third escalator to a second, or you can take a fourth and Chase Claypool. You give me a fourth and Chase Claypool, or if they say a sixth and Chase Claypool. I think if that picks a 4, 5, or a 6 and Chase Claypool, I'll take that deal.
The good news is there's a veteran wide receiver that's playing for a team in the AFC that would love to get out of his contract and potentially come to the Bay Area. So I'll drop that eventually when we get into our wide receivers, the 49ers could go after. Yeah. Just saying.
I wonder who that could be. And you know what, Cutback Crew? The best way for you to eventually find out is to hit the subscribe button right now. Subscribe, become the newest member of the Cutback Crew today, and hit that notification bell. That way, when that video goes live, you know about it. As a matter of fact, you'll know 30 minutes before, 15 minutes before, and then you'll be notified as soon as the video goes live. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss any of the free agent content that we got coming up. Draft combine coverage, NFL draft coverage itself. Tons of great things coming your way, including mock drafts, fan-controlled mock drafts controlled by you that you're not going to want to miss. If you want additional content, head over to Patreon, support us there, and become a channel member right here on YouTube, because we have some new shows that'll be dropping sometime here in the next month or so. And who knows, maybe if you're a channel member, you'll have access and availability to not only witness the show first before the people, but maybe even partake in said show.
Yeah, who knows? There could be some potential for people to interact with us in a further way.
Oh, my goodness.
We're not willing to give away anything right now, but when it's time, the channel members and patrons, you're going to have an opportunity.
First come, first serve. So make sure you support the channel today and, become one of the first people to be featured on episodes here on the 49ers Cutback. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. We're just saying things at this point. But let us know where you think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to land. Where is that ship going to dock? And once it does dock, wherever you think it's going to, what are the Niners going to get in return? We want to hear from you, Cutback Crew. So make sure you comment down below what your predictions are. And Ant, who would have thunk it, man? The season would end and the quarterback drama will not have ended.
Yeah, I don't know when it's going to end.
I don't know either.
I think that Jimmy will be gone, and Trey will be still here, and there'll still be conversations about who the quarterback is going to be. I don't think the conversations stop until week 1 when Trey Lance or whoever's the starting quarterback
insert QB1.
Yeah, and even then that decision will be questioned. So quarterback talk is here to stay. Unless Trey takes over week 1 and just absolutely dominates, then all the talk stops.
All the talk stops, and then it just becomes a bunch of "I told you so, you were wrong." It just becomes finger pointing. And
so everyone's Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody gets one, Ant. Everybody gets one. Cutback Crew. We'll see who QB1 is for the 49ers when we get a little bit closer to OTAs and training camp, but we'll see where Jimmy Garoppolo lands, hopefully sooner rather than later. But you never quite know. Stay tuned. We'll update you on everything Jimmy Garoppolo and everything San Francisco 49ers all off-season long. And until the next one, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.